Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Kiva, Dads for Life. But we're not here for Dads for Life tonight. Well, sort of we are, but we are here for straight talk parents. We are here each and every Monday night right here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we come to parents and we talk to you directly, trying to give you advice and tips on how to be encouraged and enhanced a little bit and just kind of do everything you possibly can do in encouraging those kids, right, as we raise them up. Tonight, Ariel, look who we have back with us. We have the Mr. Sean Wyman of Success with Sean Wyman. Hello, Sean and Ariel. How are y'all?
Hey, Keith.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks for having me back, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, you know, you're kind of on the move a little bit all over the net, man. I see you at live events and so forth. We'll get right to your story in just a minute. Let's go down for our formal introduction of my wonderful co-host, and that's Miss Ariel Wheeler of Her Brand Specialing. So, Ariel, welcome. Tell us a little bit about who you are for our new listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'm Mary Wheeler, founder of Her Brand, and I help creative entrepreneurs become highly visible to get their next soulful clients that are ready to do the work and fully commit to the transformation. So my last 10 years of being online has been through e-commerce, and my first business was actually a bookstore on eBay. Yay! Back in I think it was back in the 90s, so I started doing my eBay store. And from there, we just grew and grew. And in the last 3 years, I became a mum. So I had my first daughter, which is Zyla, who's upstairs with her dad at the moment. So if you hear her in the background, that's probably just her giggling with her daddy up there. So she's having a ball. So yes, it was my first daughter that I had. And I slipped into, as you can see, there they are. They're upstairs playing. So I had posted the breast show for the first, I think it was, for the first 8 months. And my business in the background, we were talking about, eBay and being on my own website. And I actually fell into that, in that really dark shadow at the time of my life. And it really brought forward that passion that I wanted to do. And I realized exactly who I was. And I wanted to, be more visible online and help, writers, coaches, and transformational coaches and healers. So that's how I came about. This is where I am, and I'm so excited to bring Sean on for another week. How exciting, guys. It is such an awesome time to have you here, and I know Keith has some amazing things that we're going to be talking about during the show. So back to you, Keith.
Oh, thank you, Ariel. Yes, I am Keith Jowers, founder of Dads for Life with my wife, Miss Glenda, and she and I have been working to encourage, enhance, and enrich lives of dads is where it's all started, but now we're moms, dads, aunts, uncles, grandmas, whatever, as long as we're helping to encourage those kids as we bring them up. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I have a wonderful, wonderful guest, and Sean and I have become really dear friends over the last several months, actually, through that ripple effect that somebody introduced us to. And we're going to introduce him right now. But first, I do want to thank all my Periscope viewers out there watching and those that are watching live throughout our web, all our web resources. I want to welcome Sean's Facebook Live group to us as well. So thank you all for joining and watching the replay as well. And Sean's going to give us some information how you can connect with his movement process. But Sean Wyman is a native of Florida. He's married over 12 years with 3 beautiful children. He's served, Sean has served as an airborne ranger in the Army and is currently serving also, just a moment there, I'm getting some feedback here, I think, right now. So, wait a minute, there we go. All right, so he's also served in the airborne, as an airborne ranger and in law enforcement as well. And if that's not enough, Sean is a professional speaker, certified business coach, and author of this wonderful book that we're going to get to in just a little bit called Let Go, the Movement Process. So, Sean, we might be getting a little bit back on you. If you could maybe turn your other device down, maybe that's what I'm hearing. I think we're getting some background there. But so welcome back, Sean Wyman. We're going to talk about youth tonight. So welcome back to the Straight Talk Show. Oh, hold on, Sean. 1 second, buddy.
No, I unmute. I got it.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you back. For those listeners, Sean, that don't really know who you are or just hasn't learned anything about you, why don't you just give us a little bit of background on yourself? We're actually going to get into talking about the youth part of that tonight, but just give us a little background about your book and how all that came about that we're going to be talking about shortly.
Absolutely. So first, I just want to thank Keith Jowers and Ariel Wheeler for having me on the show. Such an honor to be able to be back with the amazing Dads for Life Straight Talk. And as far as Facebook Live, thank you guys so much for everybody joining on Facebook Live. Great to connect with you guys. Hello, Lorena. I see you watching. So with this book was started out beginning of November 2016. God spoke to me through someone about writing this book, about sharing my story, about, the different challenges and things that I'd gone through. And it wasn't just about sharing the challenges. It was also sharing the journey for the before, during, and after process. So if you will, the beginning of the story is all about the challenges and the things that I went through and what I had to let go. Then the restoration process, where God actually took me under his arm and taught me how to actually restore my life. And then the renewal process, where I actually renewed my life and my purpose to follow what it was that God wanted me to do. And that led me to the book, Let Go, Life Enhancing Transformation God Organized, the movement process, the process that God taught me so I could teach other people.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of things I've let go of in the past, and probably a few more I need to. So I need to hang with you a little bit more, Sean. You have an awesome energy about yourself. We're already getting some followers on Periscope, people that know who you are. So I think we're looking in for a good show tonight. But Sean, let's go ahead and just get right into this. As you and I know, you and I together have been helping youth for a while, and not only in our law enforcement career, but actually what God has brought us to be doing now. And sometimes he takes all that past and brings it to a funnel, basically, to lead you to what you're doing today, right? So, but tonight I want to focus on one thing, the subject rather, and we'll get into several areas of that, but helping our children to let go some of that baggage that may continue us all, right? As we go into adulthood, it may stay with us. And we all know, those watching on the web, on Facebook Live, and Ariel, I know she has friends in Australia that can relate to this as well. But in our work, we see a lot of people that bring baggage out of their youth and carry that into life, right? And what I like to do is to see, okay, let's narrow it down to a carry-on only. If we have to have some, let's just do a carry-on, but not carry all this luggage, right? And if it doesn't fit in that little container that they want you to try it on before you get on the airplane, right? But let's even get it lower down, or smaller than that. But let's talk about that. I know your story, Sean. I just want you to share a little bit about that baggage load that we carry into our adulthood.
Sure. So for me, I definitely carried a lot of baggage into adulthood. There's no doubt about it. Growing up, my dad left when I was born. I was mentally and physically abused from age 7 to 10. I was in foster care from 10 to 18. I ran away 3 or 4 times between the ages 7 to 10. I was arrested 3 times before I turned 18. The list goes on and on, man. I got into alcohol and experimenting with drugs and smoking cigarettes and hanging with the wrong crowds and just not following the direction. And it was because I really didn't have anyone that really led me in a direction, right? We need parents that actually lead us the direction that we need to go. And unfortunately for me, I didn't have that until right towards the very end. About the last 3 years, it started to come back around because of a great group of foster parents that actually cared and started to bring me in and kind of reel me in a little bit. But I still carried a lot of the baggage with me because my ingenious plan was to pretend like what happened to me never happened to me. Guys, if I had one thing I could tell you, don't pretend like what happened to you never happened to you, because if you do that, you're going to set yourself up for major failure, especially if you try to convince yourself that you can truly let something go that was physical and emotional in your life.
Well, I can definitely relate to that, Sean. As my dad died when I was 11, nobody mentored me or guided me other than my mom, but she worked hard, and when she wasn't working, she was trying to sleep and rest for the next day. So I understand that as it actually relates to being a youth and to actually, bringing some of that stuff into you, because I was really heading down the wrong path really quick, right? Without no fatherly influence, which is
Right.
part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today, right? You began this movement process to help adults grow, to come out of a lot of stuff that they did bring into their future, right? So, but you're beginning to speak to youth groups. You're beginning to share in schools or on the air, on the radio, or whatever interview you can possibly come up with to really impact youth now, which really attracts your work to my work, because of what I do to try to help parents understand that they need to help their kids not carry some of this stuff into the adults, but sometimes we have to learn it ourselves, right? So tell us, okay,
Very true.
how are you doing? How are you working with kids, or what is your goal to work with kids? And did that just start, or did you always have that part of the vision for Let Go movement process?
Well, I mean, the beautiful thing about the whole movement process is it can go in a lot of directions. But when I really started looking at where can I make the most impact with what God has given me the fastest, there were a couple of places, right? There were the people that have dealt with traumatic incidents, veterans, law enforcement officers, emergency responders, those types of people. But then I looked at the youth, and I knew in my heart that I could really connect with a lot of these at-risk youth, specifically the kids that are getting thrown in jail, the kids that don't have a mom or a dad, or a mom and a dad taking care of them, and they're being raised by their grandmother, or they're raising themselves, and they're learning the hard way, the school of hard knocks, how to survive. I knew I could relate to those types of people. So I wanted to be able to connect with the youth, because I felt like they were the ones that could get the most impact and could take what God had given me and apply it the fastest. And they didn't have that blockage in their way. They didn't have all the baggage. They hadn't carried the baggage into adulthood yet because they were still youth. So it was not too late. If I could get in front of them, it wouldn't be too late for me to talk to them and work with them and use what God's given me through the movement process to help them to let go of some of this stuff and move forward as teenagers, as middle school kids, as elementary school kids, to be able to move forward in their life in a positive direction. And the younger, the better. Uh-oh. Keith.
I forgot to unmute myself that time. Well, this is live, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me reset. I am Keith Chowers, founder of Dads for Life. That is my dear friend in Australia, Miss Ariel Wheeler. She's going to be talking to us in a moment. And down at the bottom, who looks like he's not really interested, but he is actually addressing other people that we brought into this broadcast, is Mr. Sean Wyman, who is our guest tonight. But Sean, let me ask you a question. You and I, we really connect when we're talking about trying to help kids. Well, I know that you've been speaking to some kids, even just recently in South Florida. You were speaking to some in correctional type facilities, or just kind of overseen by adults by the courts or whatever the type housing was. But go ahead and explain that. I mean, how do they perceive the movement process? Do they really see, oh, they've got the world by the tail? Or is this man really trying to help me? Can I really learn something from him, and so forth? How do they see your message?
Well, I wish I had. Oh, here we go. Is this it? No. Okay, so I was looking for something that's not right here in front of me. But what I did was I created a move assessment for kids to really kind of get a feel for where they're at, like where their mindset is at, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And it's an immediate engagement with them to connect with them. So it's about sharing my story, obviously, to show them that I relate to them. But then it's about connecting with them and asking them, just like you would with adults that you're coaching and life coaching, you're asking them targeted, specific questions you're not trying to convince them to change their life overnight. Because let's face it, some of these guys and girls have gone through so many traumatic incidents in their life that it takes time for that healing, right? But like my good friend Tanya Kane said here on Facebook Live, it all starts with awareness. If we can just get them to be aware and start to understand that what they're going through, they don't have to go through it alone, and that through this assessment, it allows me to identify where they're at in their mindset. Do they see themselves as opportunistic? Do they have clear vision on who they are specifically? And are they, or do they feel that they can become empowered? And through that really simple assessment, we engage, we connect, I get them talking to me, I talk to them. And this is an opportunity where these kids are being told by adults that this is their last chance. A lot of them, if they don't make it through the programs that I'm going and speaking at, they're not going to make it. They're going to be thrown in prison. So they're automatically being given a negative stigmatism before I even walk in there. So when I walk in there, I flip the script and I go, you know what? Just because you made a mistake or just because you screwed up in your life does not mean that your life is over. Just because you were given a number when you went into the prison system does not mean that your identity has been taken forever. And it goes back to the biblical principles that we're all a child of God. And if we can just get them to start thinking about that, not convincing, but just raising awareness and helping them to understand that. So we connect very quickly. There's a great dialogue. There's great connection. And the conversations have been phenomenal so far.
That's wonderful. Sean, we've got a question coming in on Periscope here about how do people, can they get that assessment to look at it for their own kids or whatever, but is that just directed towards
no.
Okay, so any youth, right?
Yeah, great question. Okay, so anybody, adult or child, you can go take the assessment. I actually have it on my website posted. It's free. It does not cost anything. You just go to successwithseanwyman.com. You scroll down below on the home page, which is the first page that comes down. You scroll down and you'll see it towards the bottom, and it says movement assessment. Click that link and it'll take you right there and fill out all the information. You can have your kids do it. You can do it. This is just for adults too. It's not just for children. So adults can do it, kids can do it. And then if you want me to go over it with you, I will actually spend 30, 45 minutes going over that assessment with you at no charge. So, I don't want you to worry about, oh man, do I need to bring my wallet, my credit card? What I want you to focus on is if you need some help, this is a really simple process where we can identify if you need help. We can have a conversation to see what you really need, and then we can identify whether we may be a good fit to work together in the future or not.
Well, that is awesome, Sean. I did a Periscope this morning on that very thing about not always asking for the credit card, but giving out more than you really can more that you desire to sometimes, but how it comes back to you. And I just want you to know that you're going to be the one. I think that right now on my Periscope is getting ready to take me over 1 million hearts. And I really appreciate that, by the way, because
yeah, absolutely, guys. Hey, if you're on Facebook Live,
that wasn't
you
a commercial.
Have Periscope, go to @dads4life and help Heart Up Keith Gowers so we can get him over 1 million hearts, guys. @dads, the number 4 life, and let's crush him over 1 million hearts, guys. Help me out here.
Sean, well, thanks, but that wasn't a commercial for that. I really appreciate that, but I'm telling you, your story is lighting up my board right here. This is pretty awesome, so to see that. Sean, we're going to travel about 10,000 miles right now with all my guests here, so everybody buckle up your seatbelt. We are going down to the beautiful Queensland area of Australia to my beautiful co-host, Miss Ariel Wheeler of I, Her Brand, and she's going to be sharing this book right here. You don't want to read this once. You don't want to read it twice. You might have to be going through this 3 times if you need to let go yourself and learn about the movement process, but especially if you have kids that need to go through this. And Sean's working on some new youthful type materials too, I think. Don't you have a workbook with this too, Sean, already?
Yeah, I got my new workbook, guys. That hasn't officially launched, but I got the one for kids. I've got one I'm doing for religion, for faith, for people that want to move forward in their faith. And I've got one for military and emergency responders and law enforcement that's coming out very, very soon. So 3
Wow.
workbooks.
There you go, man. You're about to catch up with me. I just got to get them all written there. I'm working on several of them. So here we go. Miss Ariel Wheeler down in Australia. That quick, we got 10,000 miles. Hello, Ariel. Welcome.
Hey guys, thank you so much. We are definitely 10,000 miles down under. We are here in the Gold Coast live. So I just want to say thank you to all the Periscope viewers, the Facebook viewers, and all our replay viewers as well. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining the Straight Talk with Parents with Keith and myself. So Sean, I'd love to hear a little bit more about what some tips that we can give for parents, because I know that sometimes parents can get, quite frustrated with, their own problems in the background, but how can parents actually de-stress to create a happy environment for their children?
Wow. So that is a phenomenal question, because in order for anybody, right? In order for anybody to be truly happy, or to make others happy, I should say, they must first find happiness within themselves. So the first thing is, us as parents, if we want our children to be happy, we have to create a happier environment around our home. And again, going back to faith, right? Going back to, having God in your home, having that foundation in your home from a very young age, and leading everything with God leading your family first, God leading your life first, God leading your job first, God leading your opportunities first. I really believe that sets the foundation in place for your children as well, because they follow what their parents do. So that's the first thing I say, is that we must find the true happiness within ourselves, because our children are going to see that. Our children see when we're arguing. Our children see when we're angry. Our children see, and they start to mimic, right? You have children, they start to mimic what we do, My daughter will be in there, she'll have her dolls stacked up, and she'll start disciplining her dolls, right? Or she'll start saying something to her dolls that she heard mommy and daddy talking about, and we're like, whoa, we need to be careful about what we say, right? So we need to keep that balance in our home. So that's the first thing. The next thing I would say is we have to build a foundation of trust in our home. Our children need to trust us. They need to feel like they can be heard, respected, and understood at all times. We can't just tell our kids, I'm your parent and you're going to do what I tell you to do, because we have to help them to understand that they have a voice and that they deserve to be heard, and they deserve to be respected, and they deserve to be understood as well. And we need to communicate openly, honestly, and respectfully with them, as much as is reasonable, depending on their age and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another way for parents to de-stress is also have an active lifestyle, as in terms of, there she is again, she's doing her row in the background. So she's definitely getting her exercise on for sure. So yeah, exercise is a really great thing too, whether it's just, taking your kids down to the beach, because I live in the Gold Coast, so I'm about 20, 30 minutes away from the beach. So we always make it a prime thing on the weekend to go down the beach, even if it's just walking around, walking in the sand, or just walking in the water, do what we do, throw the frisbee for the dog, whatever, or just taking the dog for a walk. But a great way for de-stressing is not only just to place, trust and a happy, safe environment in the family, but it's also to go out and enjoy life. God didn't put the sunshine for for us to stay indoors all days, right?
No,
and play
no.
our iPad. No, of course not. God created us this, beautiful land that we get to enjoy. Encourage children to go out and grow veggies and be more curious about the world. So that's a great, de-stress tip. But I also like to highlight here too, also seeing that you are a law enforcement officer as well as Keith. What are some of the things that you've seen through your years of law enforcement, and some of the things that maybe you may have seen, like a trend in parents, and how that actually plays later in their life?
Okay, so a lot of people may get upset with me, but I'm giving this to you from a law enforcement eye perspective, right? Unfortunately, a lot of parents in lower income neighborhoods are not being parents, and are using the excuse that because they don't have a lot of income, they can't be significant in their children's lives. When the truth of the matter is, most kids could care less about how much money you make. They want your time. They want your commitment. They want to be able to play with you like you were talking about and have fun with you. And I see so many parents that are lazy parents, meaning that they aren't putting the effort in. And then when their kids get to the age where they decide they're not going to, when they start talking back to their mom and dad, or their moms or their dads, and they go, well, it's not my fault because his daddy went to prison or his mama went to prison. It's not my fault that, and the truth of the matter is, it is the parents' fault, and they're not taking responsibility for their actions or lack of action. So they don't like to hear that. But because I do communicate honestly, openly, respectfully, and directly with everybody, I tell them, I go, with all due respect, the reason your child is acting like this is because you have set the precedence to allow your child to act like this. Oh, no, there's nothing I can do. Oh, no, it's not my fault. Oh, no. We as parents, including me and everybody that's a parent, we have to take responsibility for our successes and our failures. Why? Because our children look at that, and we want them to own up to their mistakes. We want them to take credit for everything they do well, but we also want them to realize that even though life is challenging, and even though it's full of misfortune sometimes, and even though, you know, we can be, I mean, growing up as a kid, I had no running water. I had no electricity. I wore the same clothes to school every day. I was a professional thief. I would steal the paper that I used to go to school and write my homework on. I would steal the food that I ate every day. You know, and I would be giving my stepdad high fives every time I came out of the 7-Eleven with bologna or tuna fish, you know, under my shirt, because we were successful. We had survived. We were going to eat another day, right? But at the same time, I didn't have that guidance where they were going, hey, this is right now because we have to do this. But when we don't have to do this anymore, we're not going to do it anymore. It was always, you steal, you live. Otherwise, you don't, right? And unfortunately, I think a lot of these parents are in the same attitude. Oh, well, the dad went to jail and I can't work because of disability, or I can't do this, or we have this mentality, and the kids automatically adapt the laziness. They see the parents sitting back watching TV, and the parents let them watch whatever they want to watch. They get inundated with the media and the sensationalism of all the different things that television has to offer. They miss out on what the real world truly value, or what the true value of the real world is, like you talked about, what God created for us to use to our advantage. And I think a lot of opportunities are missed out because of that, Ariel.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm going to raise my hand. I'm guilty sometimes of putting the iPad in front of Zyla, because sometimes, when we're all stressed out, life is busy, and here you are, you're trying to cook dinner to keep the child distracted. Like, we're all guilty of some part. We all play a part in our children's life. And this brings us to the point to your book about letting go. And sometimes as a parent, we do just have to let go, sometimes just so that we don't feel so guilty about the things that we do and that we teach our children. So I'm going to share your book here, because this is such a great book that I think every parent should get a hold of. Just one moment, I'm going to share my screen. Just let me know when we can see the screen share.
Looks like, there we go. Yep, switch
Ariel?
over.
Yay, awesome. This is fantastic.
Ariel?
So this is one. Yep.
Hey, just before we do that, I want to let Sean know that Periscope is lit up on my end with lots of hearts, but they're saying that, we need balancing in parenting, but that some kids don't know they're poor till they grew up because they had so much love in the home. That is so important. That's really important. The more love we give, they don't need to know how poor they are, and don't feel like they're entitled to everything because they don't have no money, So it's powerful. Yes. Some of the comments that pastors and even a former police officer also is on here. So I'm just telling you, man, you're really hitting home with it. So appreciate that comments. Go ahead, Ariel.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Let Go, the Movement Process by Sean Wyman. You can get this obviously on Amazon. You can also get this on Kindle. Sorry about the background noise there, guys. So, Sean, just tell us a little bit about this Let Go, the Movement Process that you have written for us viewers here.
So again, I talk about a lot of the different challenges that I went through in my life, from my childhood, from almost dying in the military to, a bad marriage. I mean, I share just a lot of the different that a lot of people face, right? So I believe the book can connect with a lot of people in a lot of different ways. They might not have the same story I have, but they can relate to my story through the challenges that they have faced. And then I share what I call the 40-year mistake. The 40-year mistake. The biggest mistake that I made, I share in this book because I don't want anybody else to make this mistake. So the mistake that I made for 40 years, they can buy this book for like $10 on Amazon. They can read this book in about an hour and a half, and they can save themselves 30, 40 years of heartache and discover what took me 40 years to discover. So that's one of the big things. And then, of course, I talk about the movement process, which is actually a step-by-step process that God shared with me, or through me, I should say, to help other people that are just for whatever reason, they can't let go of the junk that they're holding on to, right? Keith was talking about, right? They don't know how to release the baggage and leave it at the checkout counter. They don't know how to leave it there. So they want to carry it with them everywhere because they're comfortable with it. They don't know how to let it go. So this book focuses on teaching them how to let that go, and not only how to let it go, but now how to move forward, not in what you want in your life alone, but actually what God wants for you in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I like how the fact that you've also got here on Amazon, like the table of contents here. You don't see that every day with some books online where they actually don't give you what's included.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about this time to create movement. So what's all that about on page 77?
So you have to go to page 61, right? The movement process, because that's the introduction to the movement process. So my philosophy is you cannot create movement until you learn how to move, right? So the first 4 letters of movement is move, M-O-V-E. Those are 4 different letters that do 4 different things: mindset, opportunity, vision, and empowerment. Until you have those 4 things engaged and you got those clicking right, you can't create movement, because movement is action in motion. So the movement, the time to create movement is once you learn how to move, you automatically create the momentum. When you create the momentum, you create that action in motion, and that's where that chapter begins.
Absolutely. This is wonderful. It's so great, because I think that so many parents and so many, creative entrepreneurs out there can so relate to this about, just letting go. And I'm sure that, some of us all have a similar story or something that we want to share. Like my stories is, like, I was over 130K in debt. So I can totally relate to, being 90K of debt and figuring out where you actually move to. Because I know that when I was in postnatal depression, my e-commerce business had fallen apart because I had to actually physically be involved with every step of the process. And what it really taught me was that even though that you crumble, you can still have passion, and it can still rise from the ashes. You can still rise like a phoenix and go out and create something else. Our biggest failures are our biggest lessons.
Yes.
That's all right. It's just Keith sending me a message. So yeah, so I'm just going to pause the screen share for one moment, and I'm just going to bring up your website. So I'd like people to, be able to get in contact with you as well, Sean.
Absolutely.
Just one moment. I'm just bringing that up. So Sean, just tell people how they can actually get in contact with you, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first way is you can go to the website, successwithseanwyman.com. Successwithseanwyman.com. There it is right there. If you scroll down, there you go. If you scroll down, there is a place where you can join the Welcome to the Movement community on Facebook. There's also an interview, a radio interview, that gives you a little more insight to let go of the movement process that I did here locally with my good friend Tally Gaynor from 94.1 Wave FM. That's the where you can get the book. And then right there where it says Success Movement Radio, that's our radio show. That's our radio show where we have lots of amazing people. We just moved to a new network, which is really cool. And then if you scroll down a little bit further, that's where you get your free movement assessments. You can click start here, go right there and fill out. Yep, if you click right there, it should take you, bam, there you go. And you can fill out all the information right here. It takes like maybe 5 minutes at the most. Fill out that information, and I will get back with you, and we can look at a time where we can go over the assessment together.
This is amazing, because I know that some of our viewers here were asking about how we actually go to this page. So if you guys pop over to where actually Sean showed us how to on the successwithseanwyman.com, it'll basically click on down here for start here. It'll take you there if you're interested in signing up for that free movement assessment. So I'm just going to bring it back to Keith, because I am aware that there is some questions that some of our Periscope viewers would like to actually get answered. So I'm just going to bring it back to Keith. Thank you so much, Sean.
Hey, thank you, Ariel.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Ariel. She always does a wonderful job. You know, I just appreciate all this, Sean. You've really hearted up my Periscope tonight, because people really love the content we're discussing tonight. I just have, in a couple of minutes we have left, Sean, and then I have something to tell you really quick. But I see that that with all the information that you and I deal with kids, what is the one thing that you could tell parents? What I'm getting at is a lot of questions coming in about how my kid's 16 years old and I can't do nothing with him. What would you recommend to them about reversing that kind of attitude?
Well, sometimes reverse engineering has to start at the beginning, right? So you have to go back and look at what you did that led you to where you're at.
Bingo. Exactly.
So you have to reverse engineer. You have to start from where you're at. You've got to reverse engineer and look at, and then you've got to start to adjust that. And you've got to understand that your kid might not adapt to that right away. It might take a little bit of time. But if you're genuine, I truly do believe this, if you serve with a genuine heart to your child and you leave the door open, always leave the door open, always let them know. Don't be afraid to admit that you messed up as a parent. Don't be afraid to admit, you know what, I know I could have done a better job, and I realize that. But there is still time for us to come together and have the relationship that we want to have. And if you just leave the door open, don't try to force anything. Don't try to manipulate them. Don't try to convince them. Just be your genuine, true self and let them see your heart and your spirit. And also pray. Let God come into that relationship and ask God to help you to bring that relationship together. And understand that sometimes kids, including myself, I know when I was 16, I had to face things on my own. I had to learn the hard way. And even though we as parents sometimes don't want to see our kids go through that, sometimes it is the best thing that our kids can go through to help them to learn the lessons that they need to learn now so they don't make serious mistakes in the future.
That's true. Sean, listen, we've got about a minute left on this broadcast. We'd like to come back in. Sean, can you join us again? We got some questions that need to be answered.
Anytime,
great.
Man.
All right, so guys, what we're going to do is we're going to end this broadcast, but I want to tell you that Dads for Life just crossed the 1 million mark tonight with Sean Wyman on Periscope. We're excited about that. So, all right, so we'll be right back with you on part 2 tonight. We've never done this, Sean, so this is Keith Jowers of Dads for Life and Ariel Wheeler with Her Brand and Sean Wyman with Success with Sean Wyman. We're saying good night for now, but come right back in if you want to ask a few more questions of Sean. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us, part 1.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll be right back. Bye-bye. There we go. All right. So here we go. Right, so we're getting some questions coming in. All right, so we are back. We are Straight Talk for Parents for just a few more minutes. We got Sean coming back on in just a moment. He was just having to re-engage with something here. But we're excited about having Sean Wyman, who is the author of Let Go, the Movement Process. This is kind of part 2 of Straight Talk for Parents. We've never done this, have we, Ariel?
No, we haven't. This is our very first time because we know that we got so many questions and we didn't want anyone to miss out. So we decided to come back in and answer all those questions that you guys have for us. So thank you so much for all those questions. I can't wait for Sean to come back in and we can have a chat and see what some of these questions are.
All
Wow,
right.
1,000 love hearts. My goodness, we are totally rocking this.
Yeah, we're actually let's see, we're over the 1,000,000 mark now. We're continuing to grow over here on Dads for Life, but they like the straight talk tonight for some reason. But so Sean is coming back in with us now. I can see that. So hey, Sean, you're back.
Hey! Sean's back.
I'm back.
So what we're doing, Sean, is we're just kind of carrying on.
The sky is up, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. We are just carrying on, Sean, because, I mean, you were just tearing it up over here on Periscope, where just a lot of people, they did take us over the 1,000,000 mark tonight, so we appreciate all that. So all of our replay viewers that are watching us live on the web as well, we appreciate you coming back in. I see our audience is being built. So here's a question. How do you transition a child from no religion, having a newly saved parent that wants to lead? Wow.
Woo!
That's a tough one, right?
I want you to, would you repeat that question for me, please? I want to make sure I understand that before I answer that.
The families in Christianity, right? And this is coming from Pastor Michelle, who's watching us Periscope. Awesome. The Mostellers are just wonderful people. But they were just having a question about that. You know, a child who wasn't brought up in that, right? How do you transition a child who says, oh, that's for y'all, mom and dad, whatever. How do you get them involved, basically, to move on with this new way of living? Because, you know, it's just trying to transition the whole family into that, I think, is what our question is about.
So, okay, so I'm going to start with my childhood. I went through every religion you can possibly imagine. If you're in it, I've been through it in one way or another. I've done just about every religion because I was in foster homes and group homes and military, and I bounced around. I was born Catholic, and then I went to I'm Seventh-day Adventist, Protestant, Baptist, non-denominational. I mean, the list goes on of all the different ones that I went through. And I got to that point in my life where I said, you know what? I don't have to prove. All I need to know is that I believe in God. And as long as I know that and God knows that, that's all that matters. And I created this force field around myself that as long as I knew, I didn't care what anybody else knew. I just knew that I knew. And I didn't go around sharing and actually trying to implement my faith onto other people. What I would say, because my foster parents weren't religious. My last group of foster parents weren't that religious either. So growing up, especially through high school, going through military, it really wasn't until my life experience where I almost lost my life in the military where I started assessing things a little bit closer. And sometimes we just need something to wake us up, to help us to go, wait, whoa. And remember I said earlier that our job isn't to convince our children that God exists. Our job is to lead our life in Christ the way that God wants us to, so that our children will follow in those footsteps. And we're going to direct them and guide them the best we can. But in the end, we are the messenger. God is the message, right? God and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, those are the messages that fill us with the love and joy of God and Jesus Christ and helps us to move forward in our lives. And, you know, for me, it took me 30 years before God really filled my heart and filled me full of love and understanding to where I wanted to serve Him. I wanted to follow Him. I wanted to truly commit, because there were several times that I claimed to give my life to Christ. There were several times that I claimed to be saved. But it's one thing to say it. It's just like anything else you do in your life, right? If you say, I want to be successful, well, great. There's a lot of people that want to be successful. But then you meet someone like Ariel who's actually taking the action steps, not just wants it, but actually takes the action steps to get it. It's the same thing. You know, we can't live our life wanting to have a Christian-based, faith-based family and then not take the action steps to make that happen. So little things that we do personally in our lives. Every morning, we try to pray together at the breakfast table or in the car on the way to drop the kids off at school when I'm off. And we always, we're always focusing on how can we bring God into our family? How can we implement, when the kids go to bed, we pray with them and we allow them to pray their prayers the way they want to pray. And we don't judge. We don't go, no, 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 you pray this way. We want them to build their relationship. I want their relationship to be special with God, just like my relationship is special with God, my wife's relationship is special with God. I want them to share in that intimacy with God as well.
Yeah, they just came back and they said also just the child had no religion, I guess, and their parents all of a sudden, I mean, well, not all of a sudden, but got saved, and then now they're trying to introduce that life into them. So
give it time.
Look who's joined us. Look who joined us. Hey, Ryler.
Hi.
Special little girl right there.
Hey, Dr. Troy.
All right, Sean, by the way, somebody said, I really like this guy on Periscope. I don't know why they do. I mean, come on.
Talking about you. You're the one on Periscope.
They're talking about you on my Periscope. So, all right. On page 35, you have a quote by one of my earlier mentors, Jim Rohn, and says, excuses.
I know, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I'll stop. So excuses are well made up lies, and actions create results. If you want something, you will find a way, and if you don't, you will find an excuse. As a school resource officer, and you know them as well, being in your profession, in your department, school resource officer, I heard a lot of excuses, why they couldn't do this and why they couldn't do that. But then I thought back, hey, listen, OJ is what they called me, right? I tell them, I had those excuses too. But you got to find a way. Okay, let's say you're speaking to a group of youth right now, and I know there's a lot of people on Periscope, but there's some pastors here as well who deal with youth. You're talking to a youth, you got this kid that says, hey, listen, Mr. Sean, there ain't nothing going to help me, all right? My family's no good, or whatever, whatever their excuses are, keep helping, because we know that the battle's within the brain. What do you tell a child that maybe one-on-one or come up to you after a meeting and say, hey, listen, what hope is there for me? This world's crazy. What hope is there really for me?
I think the first thing you tell them is that you care about them, right? And that you're there genuinely because you're sharing your story to connect with them. So the first question I would ask them is, did you hear my story? And they're going to say yes, because you tell your story at your event, and then you go, okay, well, what were your takeaways from the story? You heard my story, you know my challenges, you know all the things I faced, some of the things that you're facing. After hearing my story, do you still feel that way about yourself? And you actually start going into a coaching program with them, basically, where you start asking them target specific questions. And my next question would probably be, let me ask you something. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being at the lower end of the scale, meaning, man, I can't stand my life right now, to the top of the scale, I really love my life right now, where would you rate yourself? And listen to what they say, because that number is going to trigger the next question or the next part of the conversation, because no matter what it is, well, I think I'm at a 5. So what you're saying, if I'm understanding you right, is you're in the middle of the road. So you realize there is hope because you're right in the middle. So you help them understand, even though they may emotionally feel that way, it may be immaturity, like myself. It may be immaturity that's getting in the way and clouding their judgment to where they can't see what's on the other side. They don't have the right mindset to see the opportunities that are there in front of them, even though they don't see them yet. You know what I mean?
Okay, we got a question here on Periscope, Sean, that says, how do you deal with a child that's showing signs of depression? And let's say you're the overseer as a pastor or teacher or whatever. So they're asking, how do you handle the situation with a child that's dealing with those kind of depression thoughts or even suicidal? Now, I've dealt with those pretty heavily in my career, and I don't like those at all. But, how do you deal with them? And we know that by state law, we have to deal with them certain ways sometimes. But tell us what you think.
So I say again, the first thing is you lead with your heart, and you listen. You just, sometimes depressed people just need to be heard, respected, and understood. And I'll be honest with you, there was a time where I did not like dealing with depressed and suicidal people. I did not have a lot of patience for those types of people, because I was like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know why they could ever want to think about killing themselves, right? And this and that. But then, as you look at life and you look at the challenges, and you go through 17 years of law enforcement, or even more with your experience, and you begin to see what's happening, and that some of these kids, the way they're being raised or not being raised, and they're, we live in a world where everybody gets a trophy, right? Everybody's a winner. Everybody, and you may agree or disagree with me, and I would love to know the reaction on Periscope with this, but I don't believe that everybody should be automatically given a trophy. I think we should have to earn our seat at the table. I don't feel like everybody should just get that, if you go and you stand out in the field and you show up, that you should get the same credit as somebody that's putting the work and the effort in to make, whatever that team or that organization or that company or whatever a success. So I think a lot of times we want to raise our kids where, oh, it's okay, everybody gets a trophy, you're just as special as everybody else. Kids need to find their identity, and a lot of times with the kids that I'm dealing with, perfect example, I had a kid the other day that a college kid that over a girlfriend wanted to end his life, wanted to jump off of a multi-story building, and luckily law enforcement got there right before he jumped, because the roommates cared enough about him to call us, and the kid was on his way. He was actually at the top of the building with his head down on top of the wall, contemplating committing suicide, jumping. And it all starts with just communication. Sometimes it's just about listening and hearing and getting their side and just letting them speak, not giving them advice, not going out there and trying to solve all of their problems and change it to an optimistical lifestyle. Just listen to them and identify where the real source of the problem is at. Because in order to help them, we got to know where the real source of the problem was at. Was the real source of the problem his girlfriend, or was the real source of the problem something deeper down that we didn't know about yet?
Well, I can tell you that we were getting a lot of interaction here, but one question's coming in is, how do you, and I know you and I were the same because we're in the same state, because of our career, how does that mandated come in? And, the mandated reporting, that is. And then, of course, teachers have to deal with that, and police have to deal with that, and so forth, but doctors and so forth. But if we start at home, don't you agree? We start at home. That is going to solve a lot of our issues in today's society. And then once you answer that,
Yes.
I want to tell one story, and then I'm going to go down to Australia and follow up with Ariel. So she's being so patient with us tonight. But this is really good, Sean. This is really good, because our kids need to know that home is the safest place to be, period. So Sean,
Yes.
What do you think? When it comes to mandated, I know parents, if we just get more involved, right? But we have to understand that mandating in the state sometimes that's our job. We have to do that, right?
When you're talking about mandating, are you talking about Baker acting? Is that where we're going with this?
Yes. Just talking about mandated reporting through children's services or whatever it is. I mean, a lot of states are mandated.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that we have to do that.
So anytime a law enforcement professional, and I'm only going to speak on the state of Florida, so let me just go ahead and put this disclaimer that state laws are different in different states, and federal laws and even different countries have different laws. So this may not apply to every state, country, whatever. But in the state of Florida, when we come in contact with someone that we feel are a harm to themselves or a harm to someone else, or we feel like they can't take care of themselves, we have to take action. We are forced to, we are required, not forced, we are required by law to take action to secure their welfare, because they're not capable of securing it on their own. Also, if we come across someone and it's not necessarily that we have to we're not required because they don't meet the requirements, we can still ask them if they will voluntarily go, and we can, voluntarily admit people to get the help that they need. I love to go that route as much as possible, where they voluntarily go. I know I haven't hit the point of no return when I get the voluntaries. It's when we get the involuntaries where we have to secure them and we have to handcuff them and we have to, take physical control of them and take them to a facility where they can get the help that they need. And the other option is us as law enforcement officers. If we go into a situation and we see kids that aren't getting fed, we see like I can't tell you how many times I've been driving down the road, a major street, and I got a 3-year-old kid with a backpack in their hand, and you're like, what in the world is this kid doing out? And the parents are not at home. They're like at a neighbor's house or they're somewhere else. We have to document that, guys. We have to annotate that information. We've got to get Department of Children and Family Services involved. We've got to let them know they've got to do their own investigation, and we do everything we possibly can to keep those children safe and to keep people safe as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go down to Ariel in just a moment, but it was a question asked about, is there a United States hotline or something? Mostly states, ladies and gentlemen, most states have their own hotline protection for children and so forth. And you just need to look that up for yourselves. I've been a child advocate, Sean, for almost 3 decades. Okay. And I was a child that needed some advocacy, but nobody really took up any time except my mom. And that was plenty enough some days, if you know what I mean. But I want to go down to Ariel, but I want to tell you a story real quick on love. I was a school resource officer, Sean and Ariel, and our audience listening, for 18 years of a 30-year law enforcement career. And I was in middle school and high school and did a little bit of college, actually, as well. But this girl came to me one day in my office, Sean, about 8 o'clock in the morning, and she said, OJ, I need you to check out so-and-so. And I said, well, why? She said, just check out her. Or you mean check her out? She said, just look under her sleeves. And when I did, it broke my heart, because when I got her in, I said, could you roll up your sleeves? And she said, why? I said, just do it, if you don't mind, and let's talk about it. She had 75 cuts on one arm and 75 cuts on another arm, Sean. And I said to her, I said, sweetheart, and I just talked to him like a dad, I'll tell you, because a lot of them didn't have that dad support. I said, sweetheart, tell me, why did you harm yourself this many times? She said, well, that was just in the last 2 days. And I said, but why? She said, well, that was 75 times Dad didn't love me, and 75 times I didn't think he loved me on this arm. 150 times within the last 48 hours that she felt unloved. Now, we know that that's not going to happen in a lot of homes, but it does happen in homes. And, I had to follow through with the law on what I did, because she was trying to harm herself. But the thing is that I wanted to put that family back together. It was puzzle. There was missing pieces to the puzzle, right? And so, but when I found that out, it literally broke my heart, and I actually had to wipe away a few tears myself during that story, because she was just lost in all that. So anyway, didn't mean to bring you up, Ariel, on a note like that, but I want to come back down to you, my dear friend in Australia, Miss Ariel Wheeler of Her Brand, as we begin to wrap up this part 2 tonight, which is part of the part 1 as well, but we will repurpose this as well, and we're excited to have our guest. I want to repurpose a little bit. This is Straight Talk for Parents. Have our guest, Sean Wyman of Success with Sean Wyman, who wrote the book, The Let Go Process, or Let Go, the Movement Process. And Sean, Ariel will definitely agree with me. We have never done this tonight, my friend. We have never gone into a part 2 because of all the interaction, but we appreciate you being with us. So let's go 10,000 miles down under to Miss Ariel.
Hey guys, thank you so much and welcome back. Yeah, that is such a really heart-touching story to hear about that, because as much as we don't like to think that, that it's taboo and it's not very common, actually it is very common, and it does happen in schools, and, emotional abuse does happen day to day. But, as we always say, that there's always a heart, there's always compassion for people. And I just want to ensure that, because obviously we're here in 2 different places, so I want to make sure that anyone in the US has access to their depression hotline, or a hotline that someone that they can talk to and get some help. And also, if you are here in Australia, there is quite a few hotlines here in Australia that you can get in touch with as well. And there's some great movements here in Australia as well that support you. And just know that there is help out there. And never feel embarrassed about what you're going through as well, because we all go through our own stories, our own journeys, and sometimes our journeys can be quite tough. So never be embarrassed to put up your hand and say, I need some help, okay? So just know that that help is out there for you. So I'm just going to bring us over to our Straight Talk with Parents Facebook page. So one moment, I'm just going to share the screen. And look at that, we see Sean on there already.
What a
great
face.
photo. Love face. Absolutely.
I feel like the Elvis sneer going on.
Yeah, you're definitely in the mode there. All right, guys, this is our facebook.com, The Straight Talk with Parents. You can find us on www.facebook.com/The Straight Talk. And this page is basically for us not only just to get together as a community, but also showcase our many and great speakers that we have here. And Sean is definitely one of those great speakers that we like to bring back from week to week and just share some great stories, because everyone has a story to share. So I just want to say to Sean, thank you so much for being here. And I really appreciate the amazing tips and all of our over 1 million love hearts. And thank you to all of our viewers that are here. This is what community is. It's a safe place, it's a happy place, and it's a place that we want to make sure that everyone at the end of the day is leaving happy and confident. So this is what this Straight Talk for Parents is all about. Our show is just ensuring that when we get with you guys, that we're not only just talking to dads, but we're also talking to mums as well, and grandparents and granddaddies, all of those as well. But we like to enhance, enrich, and encourage connections with our children through daily confidence and courage. And that's what Dads for Life does as well. So we want to bring all of our viewers together with, great topics to talk about, books, anything that we can get our hands on, just so that we can showcase it and just make sure that these resources are available to you. So is there anything you would like to say, Keith, about our Facebook page?
Yes, I was wondering if why you had that portrait of me on that book there. Sean sent me a picture of his son actually reading that book one time. That was pretty cool, Sean. So
I still owe you a video. We're still going to do a video review with that too.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that. But I am getting a lot of response on that little book, and we got book 2 coming out very soon. We were excited about Canine Friends coming out with Officer Keith. But our Straight Talk for Parents is just simply there to try. We want to bring out tips and resources for parents beyond our weekly show like this. So, but these shows will be posted there as well. But we're going to leave Sean's material up so you can also get back to his webpage and learn about some of the stuff he talked about. So, Ariel, appreciate you sharing that. So do you have his book handy? We could share that one more time for our newest listeners that came up.
I actually had closed the Amazon page, but do you have his book there in your hand?
I do have a book actually. So Sean, we can get this on Amazon, right? And, look at that! Hey, it's Twin Sean's. Twin Sean's. Right there, Twin Sean's.
High five.
Yeah, but mine has a pretty special inscription. But we appreciate that. But you can get this book on Amazon, right? And see, Sean, I color it up quite a bit. So
you're taking notes. Look at that, man.
Yeah, I'm taking notes. Where can we get that at, Sean?
You can just simply go to themovementprocess.com. If you just go to themovementprocess.com, you can it takes you right to the Amazon link right there, and then you can get it on Kindle, or you can get it on Amazon, or if you want a signed autograph copy, there's a lot of people that have been reaching out and they want a signed autograph copy. If you reach out, if you direct message me either through Facebook or however, you can find me a lot of different ways. If you direct message me, we can work that out where I can actually send you. I have copies here at the house where I can sign it and personalize it for you and have it mailed out to you. Hey, and I also want to let you guys know that all the proceeds for these books now are going towards working with these at-risk youth these organizations that just, they're nonprofits. They don't have a lot of money where they can afford to buy books. These kids need these books, man. It is what it is. And also, I'm actually getting ready to take the movement process to India in June. So the donations, the investments, if you will, are all going to get ready for that missionary trip to India in June and in Uganda later on this year. So the movement process is going international.
Wow, listen to that. That's pretty awesome. So, and I understand how that works. I mean, I'm going back to the UK in September to do a 3-day conference as a keynote address. So, I mean, it seems like when you're doing the right things for the right reasons, no matter how long it takes, you're going to get to that journey. Sean, as we start to kind of wrap up part 2, we don't want to go too much longer tonight because I think people have to do some things. But here's a question I have for you. As you go through life's journey, you went through a rough journey as a youth. I went through a rough journey as a youth. I'm sure Ariel can relate to some rough patches as a youth, okay? We don't want, what we're trying to do here with all these processes that we're doing, what we're trying to do is to get you to think, parents, just to help yourselves. Take that mirror test, right, Sean? Look in the mirror, fix that person, then we can help fix our kids, we can help fix our neighbors or whoever around us, right? When you expand your circle by polishing up the glass in that mirror a little bit, things will work a little bit better. And I think, Ariel, you mentioned something about sunrise or something earlier in the first broadcast, and it made me think of the quote that I said one night about you can't see the beautiful sunrise in front of you until you close the door on the sunset behind you. And if you think about that as a youth, ladies and gentlemen, if we can get all of our mess straightened up as a youth, it's going to make a better adulthood. So my question, Sean, is as we try to, as parents, do the best we can, we know kids are going to make mistakes. We made them too, right? We don't come at them with a sledgehammer, with discipline, right? We need to love them back to the truth and love them. But just kind of touch on that a little bit. I mean, just what do you think would have worked for you? And I know what would work for me actually is having a male figure that was positive in my life. But tell us a little bit about that. What would have changed Sean's outlook a little bit had you had that positive fatherhood in your life?
Well, I would say that obviously the big change would have been, because there's a difference between discipline and terror, right? I mean, my stepfather beat me to the point where I couldn't move for an entire week at one point, right? To the point where my stepfather beat me to the point where I premeditated his murder. It got that bad. And that was at the age of 10. So think about that, right? What did it take that drove me to that point where I was premeditating how I wanted to kill my stepfather, right? And that's not something that I say with pride by any means. Actually, I give thanks that I know that the only reason I didn't kill my stepfather is because God was there. He was by my side that night when I went through that. So I would say that there does need to be discipline, but discipline in a loving way, right? So we're not disciplining out of anger. We're not disciplining out of rage. We're disciplining out of love and respect, and we're disciplining with an understanding that we're educating and we're teaching. So disciplining in a way that, kids need that discipline. They need that structure. That was what I was missing in my life, was the structure. I didn't have someone guiding me through the steps of my life. I was just taking the steps and making bad choices, bad decisions. And I had good provokers that were in my life that are still, like, one of my best friends today he knows this journey better than I do almost, because he lived it with me. And we talked about not too long ago, and he's like, man, it's hard to believe all the things that we went through. And I was like, I know. So I would say structure and love and discipline in a balancing way, so that your child they understand that they do need to be disciplined when there's something that's wrong. It needs to be identified, and they need to show ownership for it. I tell my son all the time, just take ownership of it. If you messed it up, you messed it up, man. I call it falling on the sword in law enforcement, man. If you make that critical mistake, or you do something, if you end up saying something to a citizen that you probably shouldn't have said, but in the heat of the moment you said it, and then they call and they complain on you, then own up to it, acknowledge it, because once you lie about it, you embed a really bad situation where you take something that's really trivial and you make it a lot worse than it really needs to be. And I always raise my kids to understand, if you are honest with me, no matter how bad it is, I always want you to know you can tell me. And I will always listen, and I will always take everything in. And yeah, you might get in some trouble. Yeah, you might get scolded, but you know what? You will never get in the kind of trouble that you'll get in if you lie or you try to hide it from me. And I think that's something that's really important, Keith.
You know, Sean, I think we're going to be wrapping it up on that. That's a good one to remember. Don't hide it, right? Just be honest. And
own it, man.
We as parents, we are not perfect, okay? And you guys know, I keep my little friend here in front of me all the time, is to be a little bit flexible, right? Especially as a parent, is be like Gumby and just be a little bit flexible sometimes, but understand that they're kids, they're growing up, they're going to make mistakes, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be wrapping up the Straight Talk for Parents tonight. Ariel, do you have anything else for Mr. Sean before we let him go?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say, thank you so much for being here and sharing a great message with us, and also sharing those great tips that you have shared with us and some insight as well. So I'm so blessed that you're on here, and also our viewers who have been on here for nearly 90 minutes. So I just want to say thank you to all of our viewers who have been online with us and hanging out with us today, because this is one of the best, part ones and part twos that we've done with Sean. And wow, we have covered so much today. And if you do have any more questions, definitely send that to Keith, Sean, or myself, and we'll definitely get back to you. But Keith, thank you so much for being such a great host, and for Sean being on here with us, and for being such an amazing guest and sharing your beautiful message with us. Thank you so much. Blessed.
Yeah. Well, Sean, I can tell you, Pastor Michelle Mostella, she just said, she wrapped it up for you. She said, you've been awesome sauce. So whatever. Yes. Awesome sauce. That's it. That's great. Thank you, Pastor Michelle. Thanks, everyone, to Periscope, Facebook Live on Sean's end, Ariel's Australian grouped out. We appreciate every single one of you. We do not take this for granted, but this is what we've been talking about tonight. Let go, the movement process. Is Sean's book. It's just a picture that captures everybody, gets to know him. They know that picture. So go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
And I just want to say that everybody that watched on Facebook Live and everybody that will watch the replays, I want you to follow Keith Jowers, and I want you to follow this organization. If you're a single father and you're struggling with your parenting, follow this man. He has created an amazing organization with some of the best resources to help you with your parenting, to help you to become a better dad. If you're a single mom and you're struggling, you don't have to do it alone. Keith has put together such an amazing program. Ariel and him together have put together the Dads for Life and Straight Talk. So take advantage of the opportunities that these guys are offering, and take advantage of being able to have that resource available at your fingertips. And I know Keith won't say this because it's supposed to be me getting recognized, but I'm here to tell you, man, this is one of the most genuine human beings that truly cares about kids and truly cares about parents creating the right relationship with their kids, man. And I just want to thank you, Keith, and thank you, Ariel, for what you guys do and for allowing me to have the opportunity to share in this journey with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I do want to send regards to my good friend, Ariel Wheeler of iHer Brand. If you need a brand specialty coach, that would be one I would recommend right there down in Australia. Even though she's 10,000 miles away, she certainly knows how to put some things together. Also, ladies and gentlemen, Sean is also got a radio show, and it's called Success with Sean Wyman, right? Or the
Success Movement
yeah,
Radio.
there you go. I know so much about you, I get you confused with my head. And his show will air again on April 26th, right behind the Dad Connection,
behind you, man.
on April
Right
25th. We are. I'm at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. His show is at 8 p.m. Eastern
8
Standard Time, and we are on 108praiseradio.com. So you can listen to us live there. But if you connect with us in our Facebook groups, you're definitely going to hear more about those shows coming up. We got a couple of neat people coming up. Our next show line up next week, folks. So, but Sean, we're about out of time again. I can't believe it. We're done and run out of time again. But you have been amazing, sir. Everyone, go to successwithseanwyman.com, right?
Yep, .com.
Right, and get your copy of the twin books here, Let Go of the Movement Process. And Miss Ariel Wheeler, we appreciate your patience with us tonight. We've never done this, Sean. We've never done this. We've never been part 2. But you have lit up Periscope tonight. You have put Dads for Life over the 1 million hearts tonight, and I am so excited.
Yeah, Facebook, we made history tonight.
That's
we made history tonight.
That's right. And I'm not even on the replays yet. Just this broadcast. Ariel, God bless you. Sean, God bless you. Everyone out there, bless you. Thank you, all Periscope viewers, everyone that's been watching us live and replays. We appreciate each and every one of you. Remember, go out and encourage, enhance, and enrich someone's life today or tomorrow. But make sure you start with your kids, because they truly do need it the most. And also remember that your kids need to know that you love them, hug them, whatever, put notes in their lunches, whatever it takes, and let them know that home, your home, is the safest place to be and always will be. Until next time, this is Keith Jowers with Dads for Life, Ariel Wheeler from I Her Brand, and our dear friend, Sean Wyman of the Success Movement. Everyone, remember to let's go and get moving in your life. All right? Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.